Van Helsing is a... Van Helsing is a movie that should be a mess. It flits between being homage, parody, and a serious retelling of old-style horror movies. It also throws in old Western movies and Indiana Jones and James Bond into the mix. Characters will swing from sarcastic quips to deep speeches about God and souls or whatever. And almost everyone is overacting, at least a little bit. And yet, somehow, it works. At least, I think it works. The critics would disagree, but as might be obvious from the fact that I did a Twilight video in a time when no one cared about it, and I followed it up with a video about a movie that probably no one cares about. We don't care what the critics say. We're gonna talk about Van Helsing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Van Helsing!
Van Helsing! I'm even wearing boots. Yeah, and a corset. Thematic outfit. In order to talk about this movie, I've actually separated it into chunks. Story, characters, themes, extra stuff I wanted to talk about that I couldn't fit into the first three. So, the story.
Van Helsing is an amnesiac monster hunter working for a secret society operated out of Rome. He is sent to Transylvania to kill Dracula. With him goes Karl, friar and inventor. While in Romania, they meet Anna Valerius, the last of her family, and if she dies, none of her ancestors get into heaven. It's a whole thing.
I don't need any help.
Really?
They fight vampires and werewolves and team up with Frankenstein's monster to try to stop Dracula from unleashing thousands of his goop-sack progeny upon mankind. Van Helsing gets turned into a werewolf, and he uses his new powers to kill Dracula. And he gets cured, but not before killing Anna. Aww. But it's okay because her family gets into heaven. Frankenstein's monster heads to sea and Karl and Van Helsing ride off to fight more monsters. The end.
Sounds wild, right? But what if I told you that it starts with Van Helsing fighting Mr. Hyde? In Paris, of all places, inside Notre Dame, and then accidentally killing him when he turns back into Dr. Jekyll. If I mention the secret society is thousands of years old and encompasses all religions, and somehow manages to still only be men. That Van Helsing is actually the Archangel Gabriel, and he's the one who murdered Dracula before Dracula became Dracula. Now you'd be intrigued, right? Van Helsing was found crawling up the steps of a church, with no memory of his life before then. He was found by a secret society of monster fighters, known only as the Holy Order, which is an order of loads of different religions, but only men. And they put him to good use by sending him out to save the souls of the damned, which are warlocks, gargoyles, Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde. No, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Maybe just save the soul of Dr. Jekyll and kill Mr. Hyde.
When we found you crawling up the steps of this church half dead, it was clear to all of us that you had been sent to do God's work.
Why can't he do it himself?
Don't blaspheme.
He's cocky and sarcastic, but he's also deep and charming.
You're a big one. You'll be hard to digest. I'd hate to be such a nuisance.
They're clearly going for like an Indiana Jones vibe right at the beginning of the movie, because he keeps doing this like bit with his hair. He keeps like picking it up and getting it back from Mr. Hyde in the fight at the beginning. But it's pretty much forgotten about very early on in the film until the second to last shot of the film. It's also kind of going for a James Bond thing because, of course, there's the secret society. He's got this mentor guy who gives him missions. He has a crazy inventor friend, and he has all these cool gadgets that he uses.
This is my latest invention. It's gas-propelled, capable of catapulting arrows in rapid succession at tremendous velocity. Just pull the trigger and hold on.
Van Helsing is simultaneously our dark, mysterious hero, as well as our holy hero archetype. Kind of opposites.
Some say you're a murderer, Mr. Van Helsing. Others say you're a holy man. Which is it?
It's a bit of both, I think.
You might be thinking that this sounds a bit like a mess. You're right. But if all of that wasn't enough, if all of that wasn't enough to encompass Van Helsing's character, we also find out that he is the left hand of God and probably the Archangel Gabriel. That's right, the Archangel Gabriel. You know, the one who told Mary she was going to have Jesus. From the Bible. You know what? If someone told me Hugh Jackman was a literal angel, I'd believe them. Hugh Jackman breathes life into this character, and the movie would be a failure without him. The funny thing is the movie kind of treats this like a, ooh, revelation, move on. It's not halfway through the film, it's pretty much right near the climax, and our character's like, some things are better left forgotten. He doesn't even, he's like, I might be an angel, I might be the left hand of God, I might have been specifically sent here to do this exact work, destined by God, the actual God, but, you know, whatever. That's actually fine. The way it is handled in the movie, you just kind of go with it. There are enough like hints leading up to it that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then you accept it. And not everything has to be explained. This is a film in which a man managed to reanimate a person by sewing a whole bunch of different bodies together, and a dead guy made a deal with the devil to live forever, so. Archangel Gabriel, not gonna ruin my suspension of disbelief. Honestly, I don't think this character, and therefore this film, because it's named after him, would have worked if it had been any other actor. Luckily for them, it is Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman just oozes charm. I think it's because he's like so comfortable in his sexuality that he just is confident and charming and sweet and caring, and he's, you know, theatrically trained as well, and he's just having a great time. I think Hugh Jackman is basically having a great time in any movie he's in, because he's just like so excited to be acting. That's the feeling I get whenever I watch a Hugh Jackman performance. Even Wolverine, where he's just like pretty much the whole time. Like, you can feel Hugh Jackman's just, he's there, he's for it, he's having a good time. This is one of my favourite Draculas. I could listen to every line this man says. It is dripping with syrup. It's just...
I pity your moment of triumph is being spoiled over a little thing like grave robbery.
Delicious. This Dracula saunters between cool distance and intense emotion. And while there is a hint of tragedy, he's still very much a villain.
What are you complaining about? This is why you were made! To prove that God is not the only one who can create life.
You know, some movies try and make him perfectly tragic. You know, he had like an old love or something like that. Thinking of you. Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman. Which is fine. I like that movie too. But I like this Dracula who's like, yeah, I made a deal with the devil. I was a mortal man. I made a deal with the devil, and that was my choice. I'm kind of into it. Yeah, it's like not that great because everyone hates me and I have to feed off blood, but you know what? I'm kind of down.
I'm at war with the world and every living soul in it.
He is fueled by anger and driven by his urge for revenge on God.
Have you no heart?
No! I have no heart! I feel no love! Nor fear! Nor joy! Nor sorrow! I am hollow. And I will live forever.
So understanding and accepting of his eternal life, that setbacks really are just minor inconveniences, because he has time to try, and try, and try, and try. He can be quite sarcastic and dry, which I understand. You gotta get your kicks somewhere.
I would rather die than help you.
Oh, don't be boring. Everyone who says that dies.
His vampire form is top tier.
You are too late.
And his wings turn into his coat. Holy shit. Oh, I popped my corset. It's too big for me. How did I even pop it? Anna is our woman character. That's it. No, there's the brides, but of course they are secondary villains. So in terms of main characters, main protagonists, this is it. It's Anna. Basically your typical sexy badass. She has just fantastic hair. Oof, hair goals. And a super impractical but hot outfit. And she does like all these ridiculous stunts that you know she ain't pulling off in them heels and a corset. Roughly 400 years ago, her ancestor, Valerius the Elder, aptly named, made a deal with God that his family would never enter the gates of heaven unless they had vanquished Dracula, or until they had vanquished Dracula. Still not achieved 400 years later. Trying to pull at my collar, I don't got ones yanking at my hair.
Promised God that his family would never rest nor enter heaven until they vanquished Dracula from their land. They have not succeeded, and they are running out of family.
When Van Helsing meets Anna, she is the last of the Valeriuses. So if she dies, that's it. 400 generations, no, 400 years worth of her ancestors. Possibly the entirety of her ancestors. I'm not entirely sure of the fine print of the agreement with God, but at least 400 years worth of her ancestors are stuck in purgatory until Armageddon. She's also apparently Queen...
Princess Anna.
Princess.
Oh, my bad. Princess? Even though her dad and brother are dead, and therefore she inherits the title. Who am I to say? She's the queen of
The gypsies.
these Romani people. I think that's what they mean by that. Romani are traditionally a traveling culture, so my thought is them having a castle and a town that they've maintained for 400 years despite constant vampire attacks seems off, but I'm not an expert, so... Also not here to police what people look like, but I can tell you for certain that our Australian Dracula and Kate Beckinsale are not Romani. Anyway, Anna is no nonsense. She cares deeply about her family and her people. She accepts the burden of responsibility to kill Dracula, and she doesn't want to put anyone else's lives at risk. She's currently struggling with the loss of her brother Velkan, who died right at the beginning of the movie. So she really doesn't want to lose anyone else. She knows that with her death, her family can't get into purgatory unless they kill Dracula, and she's determined to kill Dracula. She really doesn't care what happens to her. If she dies during, but Dracula still ends up dead, she does not care. She just wants to do it because that's part of her family pride, and she's literally lost everything.
The only way to save your family is to stay alive until Dracula's killed.
And who will kill him if not me? Who will show courage if not me?
Well, there is the typical sexualization of all of the women in this film. I'm not going to go into it. Surprising, I know. But there's just so much other things to talk about, and suffice to say, yes, the women are overly sexualized. Yes, it's unnecessary. Yes, it makes you feel uncomfortable as a person with a female body in the audience. You're like, hooray, I've been reduced to an object once again, but you get used to it, so you can't bring it up every single time because you got themes of God versus Satan to talk about. Or you want to talk about the beautiful dumbassery of the Valerius family. There is a reason these guys have not killed Dracula. Let me explain. So the first scene in which we meet Anna and Velkan, the Valeriuses of the film, Velkan is tied up to a pole, and that is... whew, making me feel a kind of way. He's tied up to a pole and he's goading a werewolf. He's like, come on, Dracula unleashed you for a reason. Oh, that was a bad impression. He says it in a very sexy way, though.
Come on. Dracula unleashed you for a reason.
Remember, if he and Anna die, their family don't get into heaven. So, but anyway, he's used as bait for the werewolf. Werewolf hops out, but it's okay. He jumps backwards onto the pole. He's very dramatic. And he gets pulled up on a rope out of the way of the werewolf. Except, oh no! It gets jammed. On a knot in the rope? Did no one check the mechanism? Anyway, the werewolf falls down into a cage and Anna walks over to double check, even though she knows that the cage is about to lift up and close.
No, Anna! It'll kill you!
That's my brother out there!
Cut the rope! Cut it now!
But it's okay, she flips out of the way, it's cool. Velkan is being raised into the air via a rope, and the werewolf is being raised into the air via a rope, and they're going in the same direction. Surely one of those methods should have been changed. Velkan goes to shoot the werewolf, but he drops his gun because the cage hits him. So everyone else starts shooting the werewolf, but only Velkan's gun has silver bullets, which is fine because silver is expensive. I understand that. Why did everyone else have a gun though? Or why is everyone else shooting? Do they not know? Have you not briefed them on how to kill a werewolf? Has this not been going on for 400 years?
My God! My God! Find Velkan's gun! It has to be the silver bullet!
Anna, the princess of these people, does not tell them stop shooting because the bullets are actually starting to shoot the rope down. Prince Velkan in the tree doesn't tell them to stop shooting. No, she's just like, oh, find Velkan's gun. And then no one listens to her, the princess. And surprise, surprise, the cage gets shut down, the werewolf is released, everyone runs. Velkan pushes Anna out of the way, and that's how he dies. He gets werewolfed off a cliff. None of this had to happen if your plan had been better. How have you been doing this for 400 years and your best plan was bait, bad cage, shoot, profit? I want to say that, like, probably the most competent Valeriuses went out initially, got killed by Dracula, leaving only the beautiful ones behind, which is how we got, you know, Prince Falcon and Princess Anna, who are absolutely gorgeous, but dumb as a bunch of bricks. Share one brain cell between them, which is why Anna gets smarter once Falcon dies. She gets the brain cell. But Valerius the Elder leaves the key to Dracula's castle with the Holy Order, but neglects to tell them what it's for, and neglects to tell anyone at home where it is. So 400 years later, his descendants are like, we don't know how to get to Dracula's castle. And the Holy Order are like, we got this piece of paper, but we don't know what it's for. Leave a note! All my flatmates are like moving around and I'm just like yelling. Oh my god, why are you guys moving around so much? Carl is our comedic relief.
Won't find him in here.
I'm sure this is some sort of sin.
Don't worry, God will forgive us. We need to save Anna.
You don't think the hat split much, do you?
Oh, help me!
Oh, right.
I feel you cringing, but this is a comedic relief as it as actually intended. You know, a character who brings levity to an otherwise rather grim plotline, and not just a character that says quips constantly and is annoying. Carl could have been annoying, to be fair. I think Carl could have been very annoying, but his actor manages to make him not annoying, I think.
Why is it so important to kill this Dracula anyway?
Because he's the son of the devil.
I mean besides that.
Because if we kill him, anything bitten by him or created by him will also die.
I mean besides that.
He's a friar and an inventor.
You're a genius! A genius with access to unstable chemicals!
And he is sent with Van Helsing on his first field mission to kill Dracula, the most dangerous monster Van Helsing has ever faced. And I assume this is because Carl's the kind of dickhead who throws explosive materials without so much as a, hey, watch out. Carl is good because he's not just like the smart character who knows things out of the blue. You actually see him doing research and putting things together, and you can understand why he's the smart character of the film. And he has a character arc. He goes from being a coward to being someone who will risk his own life to save others, and the kind of person who will ignore orders from higher level people in order to do what he believes to be right.
Help me!
But you're supposed to die!
I want to live!
All right!
Now, there's a reason I've lumped these two together, but I'll just go over them separately first before I go into why I've lumped them together. Frankenstein's monster, who I shall call Adam for ease and in reference to the book, is created by a nice Dr. Frankenstein. I have a problem with this because Victor Frankenstein is a little bitch, but fine, that's fine. We can have a nice Frankenstein. He dies almost immediately, so it doesn't actually matter.
I could never allow him to be used for such evil.
I could.
Dracula makes the big mistake of killing the one guy who knows how to work your machine. Whoops. And Adam takes the body to a windmill simply so we can have a recreation of possibly the most iconic Frankenstein iconography, imagery. The windmill's on fire. We get it. You're in black and white. We get it. He falls through the roof and is presumed dead until our heroes stumble across his lair. Adam has been surviving off bats and rats, I guess, and his only pastime has been reading the Holy Bible. And thus, Adam is intensely Christian.
I shall have my revenge! Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil!
He speaks like a Shakespearean tragic hero, and he quotes the Bible to give him strength in his times of need.
Am I a werewolf? Now you will become that which you have hunted so passionately. I am sorry. May others be as passionate in their hunting of you.
The actor is going 110%, and it works. And now Igor. Igor works for Dr. Frankenstein, obviously, but he switches over to working for Dracula because, as he says,
Igor! Help me!
You have been so kind to me, Doctor. Caring, thoughtful, but he pays me.
That's basically his character. He works for Dracula. And I would bring up that he is yet another physically disabled, disfigured character put into a villain role, leading to further demonization of physical disability and disfigurement, which I do think plays a little bit into his character. I realize that Igor's like a standard Frankenstein character now at this point, but you can't ignore the implications that have. However, that would be true, completely true, if Igor was the only one in this film. But we also have Adam. Adam is also physically disabled and disfigured. And Adam is a heroic character. And he isn't just pitied. He isn't the sympathetic Frankenstein's monster that we get from other films, which just make him sort of like a big lumbering idiot. And then everyone's like, oh, see, he didn't mean to be a monster. But he's intelligent. He has pathos. He has strengths, such as his faith, his bravery, his compassion. And he also has weaknesses, like his fear of fire and his loneliness and his isolation. Igor actually plays a different role in this story than a character like him normally plays. Normally, characters like Igor are there to be a contrast to our hero characters. Our heroes are good and pure and handsome, and Igor's are bad and nasty and physically unattractive by conventional beauty standards. However, Igor isn't here to be Van Helsing's opposite. He's Adam's. Adam and Igor are both characters who have presumably gone through a lot of isolation and discrimination based on their appearance.
Oh my god. The Frankenstein monster!
Monster! Who's the monster here? I have done nothing wrong, and yet you and your kind all wish me dead!
They've been neglected and persecuted by society, and judged based on that appearance, judged to be bad. They probably also both have to deal with chronic pain based on their physical disabilities. I mean, Frankenstein is literally sewn and bolted together and his face comes apart. I can't imagine that doesn't hurt. But even though they come from very similar backgrounds, it did different things to them. Igor became selfish and cruel. And even when he had someone being kind and caring to him, he ended up gravitating towards someone who his relationship with would be transactional, so that he would know and understand the relationship and never have to fear rejection or loss. And probably Dr. Frankenstein's, kindness and caring possibly came from a place of pity. And would you rather be seen as a proper employee and respected in that role, or have someone who's your friend but only because they look down on you?
Please don't kill me.
Why not?
Well,
Igor could be a character study in and of himself, but he's important in this in that he is a foil to Adam. He is everything Adam is not, and yet they come from very similar situations. Characters like Adam don't normally get a foil. That's normally for our main characters, our heroes. So therefore, the existence of the Igor-Adam dichotomy puts Adam in a heroic role. We don't normally get characters who are physically disabled and disfigured in heroic roles. And I really think that the huge difference between them is how they chose to go about. It's a sort of statement on how we choose to deal with the bad things in our life. Can we internalize that anger and that hatred and that discrimination, and we end up looking out just for ourselves and becoming the kind of nastiness that the world treated us with?
Remember, Igor, do unto others
before they do unto me.
Which is understandable, by the way. Or do we choose to go about it, the world, with kindness and compassion and treating people the way that we never got treated? That's the difference. Igor became selfish. Adam became compassionate.
Dracula! He has a cure to remove the curse of the werewolf! Go! Find the cure! Save your son!
I love The Brides. No other iteration of Dracula's Brides will ever be as good as the Van Helsing Brides. You cannot change my mind. Even styled myself after Elira. There are, in this film, 3 of them. Pretty classic. We've got the black-haired one, the blonde, and the redhead. And while they are dressed like I can't be mad because they actually have characters. They aren't simply engines of Dracula's will, nor are they sexy set dressing. They have motivations and personality quirks. While they are secondary characters, they are not our main villain, so they are not as explored, but they're not two-dimensional. They have a main goal, and it is shared with Dracula, but you really feel that they want to give their children life. You really feel their motivation as mothers, as women who went through intensive hours of labor only to come out with hundreds of dead children. And they all have distinct personalities and fun color coding.
Hello, Anna, my dear.
Don't play coy with me, princess.
I'd be the blue bride. Verona, who I believe is the oldest bride, is regal, and she's less likely to talk back to Dracula. She also seems the most invested in giving the children life, or the most emotionally affected by the loss of their life, even though it's pretty equal across the brides. Verona, as the oldest, and perhaps I imagine she was Dracula's human wife, and he brought her with him, so she's been in this the longest.
My heart could not bear the sorrow if we fail again.
Verona's also, I would say, the smartest, most level-headed of the brides. Grishka dies pretty quickly. But I like that the other two immediately mourn her, and we see Dracula mourn her as well. To us, they are disposable monsters, but to these characters, she was a person they chose to spend their immortal life with, and the loss of her is intense and sad, and I really like that. I like that Dracula isn't written in a way that he just does brush off his brides and go, oh, well, she's dead, whatever. Like, he kind of implies that, but he comes out of his ice coffin to cry out her name, and the others are crying as well. That this is a moment of mourning for them. Mariska toys with Van Helsing, and she is told by Verona to stop playing games, which suggests that this is kind of her jam. And unfortunately, that leads to her demise. But what a demise! Is she screaming because she's a monster in its death throes and she's, you know, releasing that rage? Is she screaming because she is a sinful person who, in their last moments, is seeing their soul being sucked into the eternal flame of hell? Or is she screaming because she's an innocent soul re-gifted with that innocence in those moments, purified of that evil and screaming at what she has done?
Hello, Anna.
Nice to see you too, Elira.
Now, I would joke that there are 2 reasons why Elira is the one who lasts the longest in this film, but that would actually be a huge disservice to this actress, who is genuinely so spooky and just the perfect vampiric bride to me. That's why I styled myself after her, because I love her. I love Elira. I love this actress, and I'm so disappointed that probably like my initial thought, probably like your initial thought upon seeing her, was that she was just cast for her assets. But she's genuinely having such a good time with this role and giving it so much, and I love her. I love this actress.
Tomorrow night is All Hallows Eve. Here in Budapest, there is a wonderful masquerade ball.
She's honestly so spooky and sadistic. She's my ideal vampire.
Did I scare you?
No?
Then maybe I need to try a little harder.
Elira is a classic younger child. Youngest child.
I want first bite.
She has this kind of rivalry with Anna that seems to go beyond the basic rivalry of the vampires with her family. You know, she doesn't just want to kill the last Valerius, she wants to kill Anna specifically. And I think that's because she sees her as a threat. Later on, Dracula kind of wants to make Anna into another bride, which then Elira would not be the youngest bride. So there's a little bit of that. She's jealous of her beauty, probably her humanity, of the potential place she has to take away from Elira. I really like that. But like a typical spoiled brat, she kind of plays this up too much, and she mocks Anna and she toys with her, and that leads to her demise.
Anna, my love, it is your blood that shall keep me beautiful. What do you think of that?
I think if you're going to kill someone, kill them. Don't stand there talking about it.
I actually think Verona's the only vampire in this film of which that arrogance doesn't lead to her demise. Also, actual monstrous women who aren't just like sexy women with claws. These are genuinely scary. And their wings turn into their clothes. Top tier monster design. Gotta unhinge my jaw. Wow. It's got lipstick on it now. He's trying to look like a lad.